here with Trevor Sikkema, Pro Football Focus, the lead draft guy. It feels like at times. This is the guy that you go to if you've got a question for all things drafts. And, I want to just say like my good buddy here, Trevor Sikkema, but I'm learning that we have more things in common than anything before, even before I talked with you. Before I was telling you, we have talked on the phone. You were on the radio show, Fox Sports 910, that I used to work at. Now I'm just running my own show. And then I find out.
Love to see it.
I said I hate the color orange. Just story for another day, right? And you say you're a Gator guy.
Yes.
And so
Florida Gator.
I'm a bandwagon Florida Gator.
Let's go, baby.
So here's where it came from. And it's an interesting story. Not really, but I'm going to tell you anyways. I was a big Tebow guy growing up.
Yes.
Huge into the Tebow guy.
Yes.
Younger, and I went to ASU. I'm now more of an ASU football Cronkite grad.
Makes sense.
Forks up.
Makes sense.
Right?
Great journalism program, by the way. Shout out everybody from the Cronkite program.
They're getting a little bit of a big head over there. It's fine. I wouldn't say no, I'm just kidding. All my professors over there, it's been a good time talking with you guys, and you guys have done a lot for me. But either way, I grew up because for a long time, college football, which we'll get to in just a second, was kind of a rigged carnival game where it was only the best teams had a chance to getting in the championship.
That's true.
And so I felt like I could never root for ASU because they were never going to get there. It just wasn't fair.
All right.
So I ran over to the Florida Gator side, and that's where it was my affinity, if you will, for the only team not in Arizona that I root for. So you listen.
What a small world.
So if you want to just go get a drink after this,
no, absolutely.
I figured we were just close enough.
Look, we can reminisce about Florida football. There's no doubt about it. Although it is funny because you said that Tebow is the reason why you're a Florida fan. The reason why I'm a Florida fan is because I went to the University of Florida, but I wasn't a big like college football fan really until I got there. Yeah,
really?
And so like I didn't appreciate the Tebow years because I didn't get there until 2012.
Okay.
So it was sort of like I was just a little bit late to the party. I didn't get to revel in all the national championships and all that. So hopefully we'll get back there someday.
Well, it's still the only team at this point that I can try to say that I'm a fan of, but really it's bandwagon. Let's call it what it is. But I guess we'll just end up in Gainesville next year. Next fall, we'll hang out. We'll go watch the games.
100%.
All right, let's take it over to the NFL draft side. As I mentioned before, from the Arizona side, the Arizona Cardinals. They are picking at number 16. A team that's kind of picking, not necessarily close, but not far away, literally smack dab in the middle of the draft.
Yeah.
Are you someone to where you are going to draft based off of need or the best player available? Will you pass on like a Jalen Carter-esque player who's maybe a little bit better, but position-wise doesn't fit what you need?
No, never. The whole point of free agency is to mitigate your draft needs to allow you to draft best player available. Now, it doesn't always work out the way that every team would like, but there's no doubt about it. Like the way that you actually, if you are truly forcing a need, you're probably a general manager that's going to get fired. Like the whole point of drafting in the right way is you want to draft the right players. And a lot of times like you lean towards needs. That's how things happen, but you never want to force them. That's the word you want to try to avoid here, because you always want to allow yourself to, if a player falls to you that you maybe never thought was going to fall to you and you think he's fantastic, you don't want to have pigeonholed yourself into not being able to take them. So I would say that it's not always as perfect as saying like, oh yeah, just take the best player available. It's a little bit more nuanced than that. But good front offices navigate free agency in a way where they can go into the draft as weakness-free as possible to be able to draft the right player at their spot.
So you have a team like the Cardinals sitting at 16 and might be in that predicament of drafting best player available or drafting of need. And I noticed in your latest mock draft, fresh from the Senior Bowl, if I'm not mistaken, I'm sure you hung out with all 5 people in Mobile, Alabama at that point.
All 500, honestly.
Okay, 500. There you go. It's more than I thought that were there at that point. But if you're the Cardinals and you have clear deficiencies in the pass rushing spot, and that's exactly what you mocked the Cardinals to.
Yeah.
Holden from Ole Miss, the interior defensive lineman.
Yes.
Is that kind of the path you see the Cardinals needing to go? Is there other pass rushers you feel like could fall to that Cardinal spot?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different options there that they could go with. I mean, interior and I would say like on the edges as well. So you look at guys like, okay, if a Mike Green, who had an unbelievable week at the Senior Bowl, from Marshall, who had a great year this past year, elite pass rush grade, he's somebody that if he makes it to you at number 16, you're probably jumping on him. Shamar Stewart, for the crazy talented edge rusher who's still kind of figuring things out from Texas A&M. Yeah, you jump right in on him. Walter Nolan is another player who I think is incredibly talented on the interior defensive line. I think Kenneth Grant, potentially from Michigan, is sort of that same type of a player that you want to take a chance on there. Maybe a Nick Scorton from Texas A&M as well. All of these guys I think could be great for them. And so I think defensive line, they're actually in a pretty good spot because I think this draft is deep. Mid-first round, honestly, like through the third round of defensive line and guys that could really help out the Cardinals' defensive line, which I think is a priority for them.
Would you say, because this draft in itself, it feels like it's already getting a bad rep, not necessarily saying that there's a lot of generational talent.
Yeah.
In fact, it's almost always judged on the quarterbacks. And they're not seen as generational prospects. For the rest of the positions, that being pass rusher or cornerback, positions that the Cardinals need.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it is a little bit undersold in what this class is?
100%. I think a lot of people look at this and go, oh, the quarterbacks are bad, this draft sucks.
Exactly.
No, it does not. It absolutely does not. Does it have all the blue chippers at the very top that last year's class did? No, it doesn't. But there's a ton of value back end of the first round, second round, third round. I think there's going to be so many future NFL players that get drafted in those spots. Now, are they going to be the immediate franchise difference makers? Maybe not. Maybe they'll be role players. Maybe they'll be guys that will be able to just play a certain role for certain teams but play it really well. But you're going to find so many players that build out the core of NFL teams through the I would say the day two portion of this draft. You're going to get a lot of really good football players.
The analogy I love to use is you're not trying to hit home runs maybe in this draft, but there might
doubles.
be a lot of doubles.
Give me a lot of doubles, singles, anything. Get on base.
Yeah,
you're trying to get on base with this draft.
Just can't strike out.
Yep.
So we kind of talked about the pass rushers, a little bit of the draft as a whole. I want to zone in here. We kind of talked about wants and needs for the Cardinals.
Yeah.
This quarterback, quote-unquote, controversy with Kyler Murray, potentially starting to wear thin a little bit with the fan base and potentially with the Cardinals. Another year in which the team started off 6-4 through 11 weeks.
Yeah.
Kyler wasn't great towards the end of the season. And part of that is to do with their collapse. Now, I think drafting a quarterback in the first round is malpractice, and you might just with the look on your face is probably you're more of a belief in Kyler than some people.
I am. Yeah.
I'm a big Kyler Murray supporter too. I've defended him, but it's hard to see some of the issues he did have towards the end of the year. Bad interception after bad interception each week, where I'm not picking a quarterback in the first or second round.
Yeah.
But a guy I really think is interesting, a Jackson Dart, if you will, third round guy, potentially a guy that flies up draft boards. Maybe he's a second round guy. Is there someone like a Jackson Dart who's potentially that Russell Wilson in the rough, that Dak Prescott in the rough, that the Cardinals could keep an eye on or that would fit their system?
Well, I think answering that question kind of comes in two parts.
Yeah.
One, I wouldn't do it. One, I wouldn't draft a quarterback.
Not at all.
I think that you still owe it to yourself to be as all in as possible on Kyler Murray. And I think that if I was disappointed with his year as well because I'm a big Kyler Murray guy. I thought this year was going to be the closest thing to the MVP version of him that we had seen before the injury. And he was there in spurts at the beginning of the year. But you're right, he regressed towards the second half of the year, and that's a bummer to see. But he is still one of the more talented quarterbacks in the NFL. I'm not drafting a quarterback. In my opinion, I'm not even thinking about drafting a quarterback. Wow. I'm not. But to answer your question, the spirit of your question, there are a lot of guys in this class that are probably going to be able to be had at like backup range picks that maybe you take a chance on. Kyle McCord is somebody who had a fantastic year from Syracuse, who led the Power 4 in big-time throws. Now, he also led the Power 5 or 4 in big turnover-worthy plays. But, you like at least the ceiling that he's able to give you. Will Howard, right, what he did throughout the last month of the college football playoff, I think he's an enticing sort of option for you there. Dylan Gabriel, who I understand he's a much smaller quarterback. You got to overlook some physical limitations with him, but he plays the brand of quarterback just so well. I mean, he understands the game at such a high level. So those are a handful of guys that I think maybe you could take a chance on if you want. Maybe you sort of want that athletic quarterback. Maybe you take a chance on if Jalen Milroe is available for you in the fourth round, and you get to take a Jalen Milroe. Maybe you have him as a backup quarterback just to say, I'll take a flyer on, and maybe that's what happens. Again, I'm not there. For as much as I am also disappointed with Kyler Murray, I'm not there with him. I wouldn't even entertain drafting or thinking about another quarterback until next year. And if there is another season in which he plays below expectation, then I'm really thinking about going, okay, we got to think about it.
Here, really quickly then, it sounds like you've got a lot of thoughts on the whole Kyler Murray thing. It seems like a lot of other people do as well.
Yeah.
Let's jump off the draft topic for just a brief second. Kyler Murray, like I mentioned before, big defender. I really thought that this was the year. What do you think? Maybe it's mechanics, maybe it's scheme, maybe it's the coach, maybe it's Drew Petzing. I don't know. What do you think was the main contributor to Kyler Murray post-bye to just throw pick after pick and not even keep the teams from winning games? He was actively helping them lose games. And as a Kyler Murray guy, even it's hard for me to turn a blind eye to that.
Sure.
What do you think it was?
Two things: turning his competitiveness into a negative, and I think that he compounded negative plays after negative plays because he would make a mistake and then he'd get very frustrated because he's a great competitor, and so then he would make another mistake because he was frustrated. And then I think the other one is just impatience. Not waiting for things to happen, wanting to hit big throws when it wasn't there. And to me, it was just that his floor's got to be a lot higher. Like, look at some of the best quarterbacks out there. Even the most patient quarterbacks, like guys like we see this with Lamar, we see this with Joe Burrow, we've seen this with Jalen Hurts. The floor for these guys feels so much higher because they're not going to get rattled. Like they have cornerback-like memory. Oh, bad throw, it's out of my head. Doesn't matter. Never happened. And for Kyler, it's almost like, oh, I made a bad throw. Let me make up for it on the next drive, and let me I have to make up for that bad throw that I had, and it's competitiveness to a little bit of a fault, and then it's just that impatience that I saw from him this year.
I have kept you way too long, so I'll keep these last two questions even together, potentially short.
Okay.
Let's just do it here with just the one.
Yep.
Cam Scatterbu, Arizona State University. I told you, or Arizona State alum. I dissed the school a little bit as a joke, but in reality, we love Arizona State. Cam Scatterbu, where is he potentially as a prospect? Do you see him potentially going late in the first round, second round, third round? Where do you see Cam falling, and is it with the Cardinals?
I think after the year he had, it's somewhere on day two. I think some team might convince themselves that he's their workhorse, do it all back, because that's the thing. I think some people look at Cam Scatterbu and they think, oh, he's just a bruiser. It wasn't this year. I mean, he was great in the receiving game. He was great in the pass protection game. I mean, he's not the best athlete at running back, but he gives you a great archetype that you would want to invest in at the running back position. So I think he's a day two player. Whether the team that drafts him believes that's a second round or a third round, we'll see. I think he'd be great with the Cardinals, right? I think that a situation where, what's Connor's contract situation?
Connor just signed a new contract extension this past season, in the middle of the season.
Yep.
So he's got 2 more years with the Cardinals.
So he's got 2 more years on top, but James Conner and Cam Scatterbu would, I mean, you'd basically just have to order ice baths for the other team's linebackers because it's going to hurt. That day is just going to suck trying to tackle those two guys. And so, I mean, with them signing Connor, I don't think you're drafting a running back in the second round, but maybe if he's still around for you in the third round, I think maybe it's something that you think about there.
Me and Trevor Sikkema are on the same page when it comes to Cam Scatterbu, potentially to the Arizona Cardinals, and I'm assuming before I even ask him any more questions, because I've gone way over my time, Sam Levitt, next year Heisman Trophy winner?
Dude, he's fun, man. Very fun. I don't know about Heisman, but that's another dude who I love the mentality. Fearless dude, competitive passer. So those are the dudes I gravitate towards. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him this upcoming year.
I am really looking forward to seeing where he goes in the draft in a few years from now.
Yep.
Sam Levitt, big arm, good kid, moves in the pocket really well.
Yeah.
All the things you love to see that gets you really riled up for quarterbacks.
Right.
Either way, way too kind with his time. Pro Football Focus, Trevor Sikkema. Follow him. You'll hear about him before any of this even finishes. So appreciate you guys making me a part of your day as well as Trevor. We'll talk to you guys in a second.